Bart, this is 107 The Point.
Don't you forget, pressing the button can also be enjoyable for you.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk. Here on the Sports Talk Media Network, we continue our coverage of the SEC and ACC baseball tournaments. Tonight be our last night in Hoover. Been here longer than normal. Forgot that I came here Monday. We've done shows here since Monday. Thanks to a South Carolina win on Tuesday, kept us here through the double elimination, which the Gamecocks have completed after losing today in their third game of the tournament, second game in the elimination round after losing yesterday. And they lose to Texas A&M today. Great pitching performance by Texas A&M. We'll give you details coming up. 5-0, the final score today. Texas A&M beats the Gamecocks. They had one hit, and that did not leave the infield. It was a single to short. And details on the Gamecocks' performance thereof. Late, pitching wasn't awful. 5 runs is a little more than you'd like to give up. They did not give up a bunch of hits, but you got to have some runs. You got to have some hits. They had runners. They had guys on base because of walks and a hit batter, but 0 for 9 with runners on base and 2 outs. All their base runners came with 2 out. Could not come up with that hit, that key hit. Once again, just like yesterday, they couldn't come up with the timely hit. So the Gamecocks are done. 39 wins on the season, an RPI of 8, and 20 wins in Q1 competition. Pretty amazing, though. This team, the Gamecocks, were 34-6 after they swept Florida, number 1 in the RPI. They go 5-13 down the stretch, including 4-11 in their last 15 SEC games, including the tournament. The question is, how will the committee read all that? Mark Kingston says a win in February, a win in March is just as important as a win in late April and May, or even, it should not be doubly discounted by losses towards the end. If you built up a bunch of wins early, those shouldn't be swept away because you lost games late. That's his opinion. The announcement for the regional hosts will come Sunday night at 8:30. And then, of course, they'll name the full field on Monday at noon. Now, latest projection by D1 Baseball before South Carolina played today, they had the Gamecocks as a 15 seed and hosting, of course, along with Clemson and Coastal Carolina. But that was before they lost today. And I think they kind of indicated the Gamecocks needed a win today to kind of secure that spot. So the big question is, will South Carolina still get a host region after losing in 2 straight games here at the SEC tournament? In fact, we've updated our poll question of the week, which you can now vote on our Twitter. And do you think South Carolina will host, or do you think they will not? In the last 2 hours, 162 votes, 54% say no, and 45.7% say yes. It's going to be a tight call. It's going to be a tight call. I mean, the Gamecocks do have, if you go by the metrics and the numbers, they do have some things in their favor. We'll dive more into this as we go through the program. Right now, we have got the first winner's bracket game, and it's going to be a good one. It's LSU and Arkansas. They're throwing their top guns, and LSU is leading, scratched out a run in the top of the first. LSU is leading 1-0 as we play here in the third inning. Earlier today, after South Carolina was eliminated, we had the other elimination game here in Hoover, and this was a rivalry game. It was Alabama versus Auburn, and it was intense and pretty well played. And at the end of the day, Alabama gets the win to move on in the tournament to play tomorrow. Alabama a winner over Auburn this afternoon. That final score was 7-4. So South Carolina falls to Texas A&M 5-0. Second time this season the Gamecocks have been shut out. One hitter. Lowest hit total on the season for the Gamecocks. And Alabama beat Auburn 7-4. Now over to Durham, where Clemson celebrated a nice win last night over Virginia Tech by having the day off and going through some practice time, some relaxation, some practice time before they play tomorrow morning. But there's other baseball there, important baseball. Matt Smith is at Durham Bulls Park. Welcome in, Smitty.
Hey, guys, and yet it was some important ball today. Wake Forest, the number one team in the country, has already punched its ticket to the semifinals. They won big earlier today, hammering Pitt. So the Pennsylvania license plates, you could just see them filing out in the parking lot over and over. But Wake Forest, those fans don't live too far away. They'll be back. They'll be back this weekend because Wake is into the semifinals. And in the game just ending moments ago, North Carolina hammered Virginia 10-2 in a matchup of – so North Carolina is now into the semifinals. And Virginia fans so upset. The one sitting next to me spilled his Cabernet all over his charcuterie board. And, in that particular matchup, they ceased selling hot dogs and they were selling Camembert and a selection of raspberry jams during the seventh inning stretch, which was nice. It was a nice touch, I thought, here for Durham. Now, the matchup coming up next. So North Carolina into the semifinals, Wake Forest into the semifinals. The next game is also important. NC State and Miami. Perhaps that's a future SEC matchup, but for now, they're both in the ACC, and they will play. The winner also punches its ticket into the semifinals, and of course the fourth game. So you can now kind of look at these as quarterfinal games. Wake played in a quarterfinal game and won. North Carolina played in a quarterfinal game and won. Now NC State and Miami will play in an important game, and Clemson will play in an important game against Boston College at 11 a.m. here tomorrow. I will say there has been rain, but just a light rain throughout the day. It has not halted play, so they've gotten both games in. I expect them to get this game in as well, but maybe we've got some precipitation moving in here in Durham.
Well, I tell you what, to be able to get the words Chardonnay and charcuterie board in the same sentence together without biting your tongue, that's pretty talented stuff there, Smitty.
Well, thank you. I had some practice because I was here. I was rubbing elbows with all of them. I fabricated my latest IRS tax form, and they let me sit in Section 215 with all the other North Carolina and Virginia fans.
That's great. We want you to have the best. We want you to have the best location and all the nice stuff that comes with being who you are there in Durham. Let's go to Chris Bergen. Bergie at the Bergie Palace in Sardis. He's been watching everything today. So I guess as far as what we're doing, big question is South Carolina after this loss today. Do they host next week or do they go on the road somewhere next week? You've heard what I've talked about and you've seen the metrics. You've heard Mark Kingston. What's your best guess?
Well, first off, I always enjoy having Smitty on the program because he always sends me scurrying for a thesaurus to figure out what he's talking about.
Yeah.
French cooking tonight on the program would not have been the direction I would have thought we would go. But nonetheless, good stuff, Smitty, for sure. Now, to answer your question, Phil, I'll do what you're not supposed to do. I'll throw a question right back at both of you. If Clemson does not win the ACC tournaments, let's say they beat Boston College, get to the semis, and then lose to North Carolina, do you think they are a top 8 national seed?
That's a good one. They're kind of teetering on that right now. They're, 6th, I think, in the latest projections. So by not winning the ACC tournament championship, I would say if they get to the championship game and win, if they win the championship, of course. If they get to the championship game and lose, I still think they would get a top 8 seed. I think if they lose on Saturday and not make it to the championship, that would be a question. but they wouldn't be far from it. They might be a 9 or a 10, probably a 9. So, yeah, that would be my answer to that. What do you think, Smitty?
Guys, I'm taking the other side. I think they're in. I think they're already already a top 8 seed, win or lose to BC tomorrow. BC, it's one of those circumstances that's not going to hurt their RPI. We've seen that throughout the season. And Boston College, a team that's projected to be into the NCAA tournament, I think Clemson's done enough already. I think the hay is in the barn. And when Monday's selection show rolls out, I think win or lose tomorrow, Clemson's a top 8 seed. I think they're probably 8th. I think they're 7th or 8th. They're right there. But I think their RPI, the way they played in the second half of the season, I think the committee's going to look at that, look at who they've beaten. There's probably going to be 9 ACC teams that are into the tournament. I think the committee's going to look favorably upon the way they've played the second half of the season and determine that, just like you want the committee to look at who's at South Carolina, who they were in April, I think the committee's going to say this is who Clemson is, the team they've been in May, and I think they'll reward them with a top 8 seed.
I would tend to agree with Smitty, and that's why I asked the question and framed it the way I did, because if Clemson is a national seed, top 8 national seed come Sunday night, Monday, then South Carolina has to be a 2. Because the reason I say that, then the committee has told you we are judging how you finish the season, not how you played throughout the season. Because if you compare, if you compare resumes right now between South Carolina and Clemson, the Gamecocks' resume is better. First off, they beat Clemson head-to-head, took 2 out of 3. They were 3-1 against the ACC. They almost have identical overall records. I don't think anybody can argue that the SEC is not a better league than the ACC. And Clemson, the best team that Clemson faced this year, Wake Forest, swept Clemson. The best team that South Carolina, it appears, faced this season, the Gamecocks swept in the Florida Gators. So if the committee looks at Clemson and says they're a top 8 national seed, that is based, in my opinion, solely on the fact that Clemson has played so well since April and into May. And if that's the case, and that's going to be the criteria, then they have to look at South Carolina and say you are a 2 seed because you have not finished the season all that well. If they look at full body of work, the Gamecocks are a host site. I don't know if they're a top 8 national seed. I don't think so. But if they're not, if Clemson is a top 8 national seed, then South Carolina has to be a 2, in my opinion.
Well, no way that South Carolina is going to be a top 8 at the way they finished, and they'll be very fortunate if they're in the top 16 and get to host a first-round regional. Prior to their game today, D1 Baseball, as I mentioned, had the Gamecocks as the 15 seed hosting Wilmington and then North Carolina and Grand Canyon. They had Coastal Carolina as the 9 seed hosting Fairfield, Indiana, and NC State. And they had Clemson as the number 5 seed hosting Central Connecticut State, Campbell, and Oregon. So that's how D1 saw it before today's games. They also had Virginia as a top 8 national seed. Now, I wonder, in their opinion, if that changes with Virginia losing today relatively early in the tournament, not going to make it to the weekend. I wonder if in D1 Baseball's mind that affects their thinking about Virginia. How much do you put on one game versus how you've been playing all along? The amazing thing about South Carolina, guys, and I know we've talked about this before, you should pay a penalty for a loss, right? You should not be rewarded for a loss, whether you played it at home, on the road, or on the moon. There should be some consequences. But South Carolina, as I mentioned, they were number 1 in the RPI after they swept Florida, or thereabouts. Right about then or soon thereafter, they were number 1 in the RPI. And since then, they have gone, since they were 34-6, they've gone 5-13. Yet they are still number 8 in the RPI after their loss today. So, and that includes a bunch of losses on the road. And, of course, that includes a bunch of losses in SEC games. 4 of their last 15 SEC games were wins. So 4-11 in SEC games. Yet their RPI has hardly budged. And I think it's largely because of their schedule. They've got the number 3 ranked schedule in the country. And however you figure out those metrics that go into an RPI, which I have no idea. I just read the rankings and let it go with that. That's just odd. It's just odd that a team, whether it's South Carolina or Boise State, whoever you want to use, was the number 1 RPI team, lost all these games and hardly fell. It makes you just kind of wonder what it is that comprises the RPI and how it works that way.
You know, and I think a bigger concern if you're South Carolina, and something we talked about yesterday, Phil, it's not the pitching woes are concerning. There's no question. But if they don't find a way to hit the baseball, it doesn't matter if they're a 1, 2, or 4 seed. They're not getting out of a regional because they're not scoring enough. They're not offensively gifted enough to win a regional, I don't think. You look back at the last 3 matchups they've had against really good SEC caliber pitching. Now, fortunately for them, they won't see that kind of stuff, you would think, as well in the regionals. We go back to the Tennessee series. I think as a team throughout that 3-game series, they batted below 200. This week at the SEC tournament, take Georgia out of the mix against Arkansas and Texas A&M today. They batted 100 as a team. You already touched on them with runners in scoring position. Greg Maddux needs help. As good a pitcher as he was, Greg Maddux had to have help from his offense. South Carolina's offense is giving nothing to a pitching staff that desperately needs it. So they've got to find a way to get healthy first and foremost to be able to run out a lineup that's going to score some runs in the regional. You're not winning regional games 1-0, 2-1. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, they played without Messina today, and they're not sure he'll be ready for next week. He's in concussion protocol, and you know how that goes. So that's a concern. According to Mark Kingston, he's expecting Will Sanders to be ready to go for the regional. McGillis, probably not. Does not look like he'll be ready to go. And he's definitely going to get Wimmer back out in the field away from DHing. Definitely going to get him back out in the field somewhere, either at second or short, and make the adjustments as necessary. I tell you, I don't know that you want to take Tippett out of the lineup because he was the one guy. He had 4 hits in the tournament. He had the 1 hit today. He legged out a slow roller to short, beat it out. That was their only hit of the game, and he played some pretty good defense. So they'll have some decisions to make with that. But the other big one, of course, is Messina. French came in, did a nice job, but obviously Messina is the captain back there. They need him. All right, Smitty, last night, tell us about Clemson's performance. They were behind early. Then they cranked up their offense, and my opinion has been, they'll go as far as their offense will take them. I'm not so sure they have the strength of pitching to rely on just pure pitching to get them through. But then again, this offense has just been clubbing the baseball the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Corn, I would agree with what your sentiment there. They're kind of built like one of those teams that's really hard to keep down for 9 innings. And that's what we saw in display last night. Drew Hackenberg was terrific. He had the stuff. But one mistake from his defenders, and I'll go through that quickly. For those that didn't watch the game, this is a nip-and-tuck game, and Virginia Tech actually led 5-3 in the 6th inning. A shallow pop-up behind shortstop, miscommunication between the shortstop and the left fielder. I actually could kind of, based on where I was sitting, hear them talk to each other, and the shortstop was camped under the ball, called it off, but then gave way to the left fielder the way that you're supposed to, but the left fielder was a little bit unsure of himself, couldn't make the catch. Okay, well, what's the big deal about that? 2 runs score on the play, that ties it up. The very next batter is the pesky and talented and mentally tough Cam Canarella. Drew Hackenberg started that at bat. Tie game, he's got less than 100 pitches on his on the meter. You think, okay, gets through this inning, they can get the bullpen to start with a clean inning. No. 13 pitch at bat. Canarella fouls off everything, every tough slider, every fastball up and in, every ball that looks like it's about to go in the dirt, Canarella spoils it. The 13th pitch is an absolute rope into center field. Another run scores. Clemson leads 6-5. Hackenberg gets the hook. All hell breaks loose then because Riley Bertram smartly puts down a bunt single after that. Will Taylor's hit by a pitch, and now the bases are loaded for Caden Grice, which is the last thing you want. This is like Lou Gehrig or Willie McCovey with the bases loaded. He'd already hit 2 grand slams on the season. Well, he hit a third, and as Chris texted me last night, that set a Clemson record. That clears the bases. The game is effectively over. Why? Because of what you brought up. How do you get this team out 3 times through the lineup? Even if you get through it successfully twice, the way Hackenberg did, and you're limiting this offense, now you've got Cam Canarella coming up, setting the table again, and maybe Jack Leggett or Eric Backett just whispers in his ear, hey, be tough out there. We need you right here to change this game. And that's what he does. He's so hard to strike out. What did he do? Got on base, and in this case, it changed everything. Yeah, Grice got the headline. I wrote the headline. But I'd say with that one hit, the only hit he got, Cam Canarella arguably was the player of the game in a game where Clemson scored 14 runs. He was only responsible for one of them. But if you were here in the ballpark, you could hear the air go out of the park and Virginia Tech almost give up after Canarella beat Hackenberg in that one at-bat.
Do we know their pitching plans for tomorrow?
What Eric Backett said last night, now he intimated to Chris yesterday morning, he mentioned Ethan Darden. He said last night, he really hedged on that and said, look, it's going to be Darden or Gordon. I think maybe he just didn't want to reveal to everybody his plans and let Boston College know. But he did say Darden or Gordon. He said, I'll think about it. I'm going to think about it. It's going to be one of our weekend guys. But he mentioned those two names. So, as he said to Chris, this is the beginning of an ACC series. So I expect, as he said, just Darden or Gordon to go out because he's not just trying to win tomorrow. He's trying to win this tournament.
Absolutely. Pat, what you got, buddy?
Well, I wanted to throw out a hypothetical to you guys when you're talking about South Carolina and whether they will get a regional host site or not. Looking through the Warren Nolan, the current RPI, and just trying to look for teams in there that may not have stadiums equipped to host, similar to what we saw back in 2021. Last time the Gamecocks hosted, they were the 2 seed. Old Dominion was the 1. Old Dominion didn't have the facilities. Well, just kind of trying to read the tea leaves here. In the current top 16 or so within the RPI, which I realize is not exactly what the committee goes by, but Dallas Baptist, Campbell, and Indiana State. Indiana State has a stadium with only 2,500 capacity. Dallas Baptist, about 3,500. Campbell, 700. If South Carolina were not to get a top 16 seed, could you see them still maybe hosting similar to how they did in 2021 with one of those 3 teams being the 1 seed?
I guess that's possible. I'm trying to remember the circumstances with ODU, and I know their facility is not big enough, and could they not find a minor league park nearby that was available? I don't know. Maybe those schools have remedied that situation. I don't know. That's a very good question, something to consider. I know South Carolina would love to host on their own merit, not as a fallback, right?
Sure.
I'm
not sure the fans. I'm not sure Gamecock fans would buy into this a second go around. I think they got away with it once. I'm not sure you'd want to try that twice. And to me, if you don't have the facility to host, you shouldn't be granted a top seat. Give it to somebody who can. I don't care if you're inside the top 16 or not. Move them out. If you don't have the facility to host a regional, you shouldn't be getting a top seat. I don't understand why the NCAA doesn't see that. It seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Let me argue back with you on that, because they want to reward the top 16 teams in the country. And, of course, it goes to seeding and who you play. And if you're one of the top 16 teams in the country, then you should be in a bracket where, you're going to draw a lower opponent as you work your way through the bracket. And you shouldn't be penalized because you don't have a good enough facility to host, I don't think. I think they're looking at the quality of the team. I think they're looking at the quality of the team on the field, hoping that you've got the facility to host. But if you don't, you shouldn't be penalized. You should still be a number 1 seed. Or a top 16 seed if you're that good and you deserve it.
I couldn't disagree more. Of that. Because I think part of being a top 16 national seed is also your entire program and having the facility to be able to host a regional.
I could not disagree. Seriously?
Yes. You just because
Campbell is a top 15, top 16 team. Now, I don't know what their facility is like, but I can't believe it's anything special.
700 people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go get a bigger stadium.
So you're going to penalize Campbell because they don't have a good enough stadium?
To host. I'm not penalizing them. If you want to seed them highly and put them in a weaker region with a weaker number 1, that's fine. But, yeah, you shouldn't host at somebody else's place because your facility can't handle it.
Okay. Interesting take. I don't know how many people would agree with that. I think the team should be rewarded by their performances, not by the number of seats they've got in the stadium.
Chris, Chris Bourgeois Bergen.
But they're still
All right.
not getting to host. That's my point.
We'll hit the break. Going to hear from the Gamecocks. We'll recap their game, update other scores, and more. Oh, and P.J. Hall's coming back to Clemson. We'll talk about that.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're cloudy overnight with a low temperature dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun, cooler with a high of 73. Now, Saturday's the big change. Much cooler, a high of just 61. Heavy rain possible, some gusty winds up to 35 miles per hour. We're a bit warmer on Sunday. 72 is our high, but more rain likely to come with it. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Cleanup operations underway now on Guam after Typhoon Mawar tore through the U.S. Pacific territory. There are reports of a few minor injuries, but authorities say, thankfully, no fatalities. A number of homes destroyed, vehicles flipped over, trees shredded. Officials say it's the strongest typhoon to hit the territory since 2002. Lawmakers in several states now looking to loosen child labor laws, even as the Fed cracks down on surging violations. In 10 states, legislators have proposed allowing minors to work longer hours and, in some cases, in more hazardous occupations as a fix for labor shortages. Wall Street today, the Dow was off 35 points. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
The AARP Fraud Watch Network can help you keep yourself and your family safe. To learn more, visit aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork for news and tips on how to spot common scams and to learn about and report scams in your area.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Pardon me, ma'am. Are you interested in lowering your energy usage and saving money?
Make it quick.
Did you know that Dominion Energy offers heating and cooling rebates up to $750?
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And it comes in handy if your system fails and you need a replacement.
Any restrictions?
For starters, your new equipment must be Energy Star qualified.
That's a good thing.
Go to DominionEnergySC.com and click Save Energy.
DominionEnergySC.com it is. Thanks for the tip.
Certain restrictions apply.
It's May. It's always a good time to love to our fur babies. May also includes Be Kind to Animals Week. The Columbia Animal Shelter encourages you to adopt a dog or cat in May. And from the 8th through the 13th, you can adopt for only $5. Go to petfinder.com and choose your newest family member. The weather is great. It's a perfect time to bring that puppy or kitty cat home. Be a hero. $5 adoptions from the Columbia Animal Shelter. Visit petfinder.com and be kind to animals.
Hey, Kev here. One thing that's truly unique about The Point is you. We call our listeners the Point family. You've stayed so loyal. You've stayed so supportive. Thank you for that. We call The Point Columbia's local talk radio experience. We're community driven. We push hard for our advertising partners because they're mom and pop businesses, small business owners. People ask me all the time, how can we help you with The Point, Kev? Well, it's pretty simple. Support those who support us. If you hear an advertising partner here on The Point, use them. Support them. Brag to them that you're there because you trust The Point. If you're a local small business owner, I'd love to have you as part of our lineup. Give me a call. Tell me your story. I'll create a customized advertising package that fits your budget and your needs. Nothing corporate, nothing cookie cutter. Look, if you haven't tried radio, it does work, especially here at The Point. Give us an opportunity to share you with our Point family. Call me. 563-8558. That's 563-8558. Or email me directly, kev@makethepointradio.com. I sure hope we could partner up. Join the Point family.
You ain't nothing but a dog. Player, I get it. Frog. Player, I get it.
We are back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network here in Hoover, Alabama. LSU has taken a 2-0 lead on Arkansas, and they've got 5 hits. Arkansas has got 1 hit thus far. And I tell you, this place is packed with LSU fans primarily. They had 12,000 plus last night. Of course, you had Alabama and Auburn playing. LSU fans are packing this place. I think they're sensing something special here, and they are incredible. Their baseball support, their baseball fan base is top-notch. And, Chris, you were there in Baton Rouge in 2016 when Coastal Carolina won to go to Omaha, eventually won the national championship. I'm as loud as these fans are here, and there's probably, 3,000, 4,000, maybe 5,000 LSU fans here. They are incredibly loud. I can't imagine what it was at Alex Box Stadium then and now. What was it like when you were calling games there?
I've got a highlights tape of that regional, and there's a home run that LSU hits in game 1 to put them up 3-0. You can't hear yourself think. I mean, it sounded like a football environment. It was one of the most incredible environments to go see a baseball game. It's definitely a bucket list. If you ever get an opportunity to go to LSU and watch baseball, please take full advantage. Their fans are amazing. They're real knowledgeable. They're nice. I mean, they came up and congratulated all the Coastal people after losing game 1. In a game they had the early lead. But it's just an incredible atmosphere. You can see why that program is as good and has been as good as it is for a long, long time because of the fan support, the facility, and they've got as knowledgeable a group of baseball fans as you can find anywhere in the country. I can't say enough good things about LSU baseball because that was a lot of fun. And to see Coastal step in there and win 2 straight against them was about as incredible a feat as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, that was incredible to go in there and do that. And their fans are passionate. I mean, they fill up a 100,000-seat stadium. They fill up what is that stadium seat now? About 10, 12,000. They fill that up.
Mm-hmm.
When their basketball team is good, they fill up the Mavericks Arena, Pete Maravich Arena, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And they're great in track and field, and I'm not sure what else they're really good in. Oh, women's basketball.
Yeah.
They're good in women's basketball.
And let me add this too, Phil, tailgating.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, walking, because of the way they had the media set up, you actually walk through the parking lot coming over to Alex Box Stadium through an area where a lot of their fans tailgate. And just the smells and the aroma of Cajun food, it's almost enough to make you not want to go actually watch the game and just hang out in the parking lot.
It's special. And, one of the things they have that's an advantage for them, they're a one-school state. I mean, you got Tulane, but that's no competition. They're a one-school state. Thus, everybody in the state is an LSU fan, just like Nebraska. Everybody in Nebraska is a Nebraska fan. I've always felt that states that just had that one school that everybody supported,
Arkansas,
would have an advantage. Yeah, Arkansas is another. South Carolina's a split state. Alabama, Florida, of course, is split up several ways. Georgia. So makes it a little different in states like that. Okay, let's go to the Gamecocks, and we'll get to some phone calls coming up. 888-898-2525. But I don't want to get off schedule here. Mike Morgan at 7:05. We'll hear from the Tigers from last night. We'll do the Gamecocks first since they played earlier today. So if you weren't paying attention and following, just to recap, the Gamecocks lose to Texas A&M today 5-0 to drop to 39-19. Eliminated from the tournament this afternoon. 1 hit against 3 Aggie pitchers, and that 1 hit was an infield hit. They only had 3 well-hit balls that reached the outfield. But they had a few other pop-ups. I'm talking about balls that had a chance, and all three were caught. 2 on diving catches by Aggie outfielders. The shutout's the second of the season on the Gamecocks. They did. Here's the thing, though. They had 8 other base runners, 7 walks, and they were hit once. In each case, there were already 2 outs in the inning when the runner got on base. So 2 out hitting, of course, you got to come through. They went 0 for 9 with runners on and 2 outs. So that's not good. The Gamecocks did not get a runner into scoring position until the 7th. With 2 men on, Aggie reliever Chris Cortez, who touched 100. He was in the 98, 99, 100 category, but he couldn't control it. He walked 3 straight hitters. They brought in Matt Dillard to face left-handed hitting Gavin Cassis, similar spot that Cassis was in Wednesday in the loss to LSU, and he took a called 3rd strike. He's really been struggling. And that was a 1-2 pitch that ended the inning. He stranded 3. Now, to his credit, Mark Kingston went after this game with his best pitcher of late, Jack Mahoney, who was pitching on 4 days rest after pitching so well Saturday in the win over Tennessee. And he followed him up with Matthew Becker. Mahoney went 4 innings. He allowed 4 runs on 5 hits, including a triple and a double. He struck out 2 and he walked 2. Becker pitched the next 3, gave up 2 hits and an unearned run. Struck out 3, walked 1. Chris Veach finished up with the final inning of work. The Aggies got the only run they would need in the 3rd. And this was almost a fantastic play and a dangerous play. 2 outs, runner on first. Trevor Werner hit a deep ball to center. Evan Stone ran full speed into the wall, guys. When I say full speed, he never let up. He went full speed, crashed into the wall. The ball was in his glove. When he hit the wall, it popped out. He was down for a little bit. He was checked by medical staff. He was okay. But you talk about gutsy, running full speed into the center field wall to try to make that catch. That got a run home. In the 4th, Mahoney issued a pair of walks to start the inning, and they were followed by an RBI double, an RBI ground out, and a sac fly, 4-0. Aggies scored the final run in the 5th to make it a 5-0 game. So the Gamecocks now will try to rest on their laurels of the early part of the year and their metrics for now. As I mentioned earlier, number 8 in the RPI, and they've got 20 Q1 wins. They've got the number 3 overall strength of schedule. How much will that impress the committee? Here are Mark Kingston and Jack Mahoney as they met with the media after the Gamecocks lost this afternoon.
Phil, apologies. You're going to have to give me 1 second here. Did not have any of that audio in our box. I'm trying to pull it off the story, but give me 1 second, please.
Okay. All right.
Okay, now we've got it ready to go now. I just didn't know there'd be too much silence.
All right, go right ahead with the postgame.
Tip our cap to Texas A&M and then Slosh. I think what they've done this week now solidifies them going to the NCAA tournament, and I know they had some concerns about that. So a lot of respect for them and how they go about their business. So I think they've earned their way in pretty comfortably at this point. So I want to tip my cap to them. They were better than us today.
Jack, just physically, how did you feel bumping up a couple days in rest and in that 4th inning? Just what happened with those 2 walks and then the big inning there?
Yeah, it's just lost a little gas today. Pre-game, knew I really wasn't going to have much in the tank as I usually would like, but it's not an excuse. Those 2 walks, you can't have back-to-back walks to lead off an inning. It's just not acceptable, and that's what just kind of came back to bite me today in the outing. And obviously Beck threw really well. Veach, was good to see him back out there, and just didn't have as much as in the tank as I usually do and as I'd like today. But just got to get back to work. Got 8 days to get this thing right. So.
Jack, you've been very vocal about the camaraderie of this team. What do you say over the next week as y'all get prepared for the NCAA tournament to kind of guide these guys?
No, I mean, Coach King just made it very clear in the dugout that we're going to have to earn it over this next week. And starting Monday, life isn't going to be that easy. Around Founders, we're going to have to earn it. put our faces back in the mud a little bit, just get back to doing what made us successful early in the year and play with a chip on our shoulder. So like I said, we've got 8 days to get this thing right, get healthy, and get this chip back on our shoulder, because obviously we're going to need it. And, new season starts on Monday or Friday.
Jack, you talked a lot after that Tennessee series about this being a really good baseball team and getting hot at the right time. How confident are you that you have these 8 days to get this thing right, and how confident are you this team won't be able to do that?
Yeah, we'll see. This team spent a lot of time around each other and kind of seen each other every day for the past couple months, and it's a tight group, man. And we're not going to stop doing what we do. Obviously, today got our butts kicked pretty good, but we respond pretty well usually. And like I said, over the next 8 days, it's going to be really important to get our mojo back. And Coach King and the coaches are going to put in a really good plan to get us back on track. So just got to put our noses back to the grindstone and get back to doing what makes us the best.
Mark, I know you said that before the tournament you're confident in the team's hosting resume. Just where do you stand with that now? But still believe the same with this team?
Yeah, I think if you look at the full picture, if you look at everything in totality, yes, absolutely. If I had watched us over the last few weeks, I would say, yeah, I understand why there are concerns. So I'm not going to stand up here and bang the table for why I think we should be a host. I think the numbers speak for themselves very loudly. If all the games matter, if a game in March is important as a game in April, is important in May, then yes, it's pretty clear the metrics scream that we should be a host. If we're not, I think that's a penalty to the SEC, and it's a penalty to us for saying that there's too many teams that are good enough to host in the league, and we're not going to reward all the teams that have earned it. If that's the case, then I think that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, you sort of answered what I was going to say, but the Big 12 may not have any host. Pac-12 may only have one. The SEC sitting here we had 9 contenders coming into the week. We still certainly have 8 at least. Just your thoughts on a committee's got to make a decision and then go back to their constituents and explain it. With you guys in the SEC trying to get that final spot, just what's your perspective on that?
So you want me to sell it, in other words?
Well,
after I said I would.
What's your opinion of it then?
Here's what I'll say, Mark. Again, every student athlete across the country is important and valued. Everyone deserves the opportunities to earn everything that can be earned in the NCAA. And so an SEC athlete, they should not be penalized for being on one of the teams that deserves and has earned a spot in the NCAA tournament. And if it's a spot to host, if it's a spot to host supers, just because of the conference affiliation, it shouldn't hurt you good or bad. If you're one of the best 16 teams, I think these student athletes have earned it and deserve it. Wherever you are, whatever uniform you put on, if you've earned it, then you should get it. It's that simple. And so whether you're in the, out west, whether you're in the southeast, are we rewarding the teams that have earned it, or are we trying to spread it around? I think at the end of the day, has to be asked, what is the motivation? I know there's the people on that committee will work very hard and will be very diligent to try to make good decisions, because I think they've earned the right to be on that committee and they care about our sport. But again, if you're rewarding the best teams that have earned it since February, 17th or 18th, then I think you should put the 16 teams that have the most metrics. If the metrics matter, then let's use the metrics. If the RPI matters, let's use it. If strength of schedule matters, let's use it. If quadrant 1 wins matter, let's use it. If last 10 matters and that's against us, fine. But if you're using it, use it. Use it all. Use it all and come up with the best 16.
You've obviously had a lot of guys out of the lineup over the course of the last month, but offensively it's not been very good for you guys. How concerned are you that this is just what the offense is for the rest of the year?
Well, concerned is we don't have time to be concerned. We have to get to work and try to recapture that magic, John. We just do. We have to get Cassis going like he was going when he was carrying us. And we've got to get Wimmer healthy back on the field on defense and playing with the swagger that he had when we were rolling. We need to get Petrie dominating games again. We need to get Brewer back in a good streak. We need to get all those guys that were really important to make us an elite team We need to get them back going all at once. And we've got one last week to figure it out. Thank God we're not sitting here trying to justify why we should get in the NCAA tournament. We're going to be there, and whether it's at home or whether it's on the road, we've got 1 week to figure it out and try to get those guys going. Because when we're going, then we can really get it done. Right now, we're not going.
You mentioned you have 1 week to get these guys going. What goes into kind of a crash course on trying to maybe fix a whole offense in a week? How do you go about making that happen?
Well, it won't be a crash course. I don't want to seem like we're going to try to insert the wishbone offense here in a pass happy offense. We just need guys healthy. We need Cole back. We need Wimmer on the field. We need those things. Clearly, we need those things to be our best team. So we hope that 7 more days, and Wimmer has been DHing for I don't know how many games. It feels like a long time. We're going to, unless the doctors tell us we can, we're going to put them back out there on the field and let that spark us. We just need to get them healthy. We need to let them catch their breath a little bit and hope that our bats get a little bit quicker because we're a little more rested. We need to get their minds confident again. Because it's when you struggle like this, there's going to be some bouts with how's my confidence. And so we're going to have to walk a fine line as coaches of getting back to the basics and making sure we have our foundation taken care of, but also do enough of confidence building through earning it this week of work so that when we take the field on Friday, we look like that team that was there for 45 games.
What will be your routine this week once you get back to Columbia, and what are your expectations for availability from Messina, McGillis, and Sanders moving forward?
You want our entire itinerary for the week there, Phil? Our routine? We're going to get to work. I'll put it that way. We're going to get to work. And because there's less NCAA rules now, and generally there's hours throughout the week, there's less restrictions on teams now that school's out. So we will take advantage of having more time to be together. We will take advantage of more times to go to work, more time to get in the weight room properly. We will do all those things. Second part of your question was anticipation of the injuries. Again, Cole was at the hotel today. Cole was not in the dugout with us today. That's a concern. We need Cole back there. Now, French, I would say French had the best day catching that he has had probably in 2 months today. I was very happy to see that he stepped up for us behind the plate. But when we're at our best, Cole's the heartbeat of this team. We need him leading us. We need Wimmer out there in the middle of the field helping to lead our defense. We just need these things. And so I'm going to say my prayers every night that we get some good fortune for all the bad fortune we've had and give it our best shot next Friday. Sanders, I anticipate Sanders being a part of our regional next weekend. McGillis, not as confident.
Mark, you talked about getting this offense back on track. Have you sensed pressing from guys up and down this order, and have they kind of gotten away from that identity you guys built for those first 40 games?
Yeah, I don't want to generalize too much, Colin, and say they're all pressing or none are pressing. I'm sure there's a couple pressing because, look, when guys go in slumps, they press. So that's why you've got to walk a fine line of not letting them get down on themselves, and sometimes you got to kick them in the butt. Sometimes you got to pat them on the back. Each guy's different. And so there may be a couple pressing. There may be a couple that say, man, I got to get back to my basics. You've got to go, you put it together as a team, but it's 9 hitters that all are different and unique human beings, and you've got to try to make sure you reach them. I don't think we've gotten away from the identity now on purpose. Now we faced, again, the last 4 weeks, we faced elite pitching staffs that throw a lot of strikes. And so you saw our identity in game 1 of this tournament, but Georgia didn't throw as many strikes as these other teams have. So a lot of it is dictated by who's on the mound. I wouldn't say that we've tried to get away from the foundation of our offense. Monty is very consistent in what he preaches to our guys. It's very consistent in the preparation, in the scouting reports. But the last 4 weeks, the combination of who we're rolling out there in our lineup and the pitching we faced has not allowed us to be as good. And so that needs to change this week.
Okay, that's the Gamecocks following their loss. Updating some scores here. It's now 2-2. Arkansas's come back. They've got the bases loaded. There's 1 out. They've tied this thing up at 2. At the Big South tournament, it's Campbell beating Gardner-Webb 5-0, and Upstate leads Winthrop 4-0. In the CAA down in Charleston today, Charleston beat William & Mary 2-1 to stay alive. Wilmington beat Delaware 3-0. Coming up, Northwestern plays Elon. In the Southern Conference tournament in Greenville, we have got the finals of East Tennessee State over the Citadel, 12-0. Wofford beat Greensboro 6-1. And in the ninth, Samford leads East Tennessee 2-1. And then tonight, Wofford will play Mercer. They're condensing things there because they're expecting bad weather over the weekend. And in the Sun Belt, it's Appalachian beating James Madison 8-7. Texas State over Georgia State 6-5. That went 12. And Southern Miss plays Troy. And, of course, Coastal plays Louisiana later tonight. Okay, go to the break here on Sports Talk, and we'll come back with more. We'll talk a moment about P.J. Hall coming back to Clemson. He announced that earlier today, taking his name out of the NBA draft after getting an invite to the Combine, maybe making for some anxious moments in the Clemson basketball offices because he was playing very well. But I think a smart move on his part for a number of reasons. And we'll talk about that when we come back.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have three simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Morgan. I want to tell you about an exciting new product from my friends at Vision Air Solutions. Staying healthy in my line of work is so critical, and probably in yours as well. A large factor in all that is making sure we're breathing in healthy and safe air every day. That's where Vision Air Solutions comes in. They make sure your home has air purification for all the air pollution you can't see. Viruses, mold, bacteria, stale odors, cooking smells, and volatile organic compounds. They make sure your home is full of clean air and also offer HVAC duct cleaning and sanitation as well. Make sure you and your family are breathing clean air today by giving Vision Air Solutions a call today. 803-220-1811. That's 803-220-1811. Tell them Mike sent you.
Have you turned on the fun? Try Cash Pop from the South Carolina Education Lottery. Pick one number from 1 to 15, win up to $2,500, or play all 15 numbers, and you're guaranteed to win. Play twice a day to double your fun. It really is that easy. Visit sceducationlottery.com to get the details. Cash Pop. It's the light of the party.
I want you to want me.
So P.J. Hall announced today that he's coming back to Clemson. Great move for Clemson basketball. Hall's a terrific player, as we all know, a very passionate player, hard-working player, and he's improved his game tremendously. I imagine he's going to be a dominant player next season, all ACC last season. Interesting, Larry Williams of Tiger Illustrated reported to his readers the NIL deal for P.J. Hall is likely to be increased to in the neighborhood of $500,000.
Wow.
How about that, Chris, for a
Good for
Clemson
PJ.
basketball player? $500,000 for a Clemson basketball player NIL?
I thought Brad Brownell's comments were perfect. I'm thrilled that PJ decided to return to Clemson. That may qualify as the understatement of the year coming out of that office.
Probably saved their season, to be honest with you. Okay, we'll be back. Top of the hour break.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy appeared to be nearing a deal to cut spending and raise the government's debt ceiling. Little time to spare, though.
Default puts all that at risk. Congressional leaders understand that, and they've all agreed there will be no default. And it's time for Congress to act now.
McCarthy said that negotiators were racing to reach a deal.
We worked well past midnight last night, and yesterday I thought was a very good day. I thought we made some progress. There's still some outstanding issues, and I've directed our teams to work 24/7 to try to solve this problem.
But also we're learning now that lawmakers have left the Capitol for the long holiday weekend. Health officials have given full approval to Pfizer's COVID-19 pill Paxlovid. Action means the drug has now been fully vetted by the government. Also, at townhall.com, a motorist has driven into the gates of number 10 Downing Street, where Britain's Prime Minister lives and works. Here's correspondent Karen Chamis.
The collision set off a rapid security response in one of London's most fortified sites. British police said a man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of criminal damage and dangerous driving. There were no reports of injuries. Video footage posted on social media showed a white car heading straight for the gates at low speed across Whitehall, the main thoroughfare in London's government district. A witness said he heard a bang and lots of policemen with taser guns shouting at a man. It was not immediately clear whether the crash was deliberate. Police said they were working to establish the circumstances. Karen Chamas, London.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says he hopes the training for Ukrainian pilots on F-16s will bolster Ukraine's efforts in the continuing battle against Russian forces. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Inflation is pushing up the cost of just about everything, but life insurance actually costs less today than it did a few years ago. Now is the time to get the insurance you need. Call SelectQuote and we'll help you save more than 50% on term life insurance. You can get up to $2 million in same-day coverage with no medical exam.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-646-9595 or go to SelectQuote.com now. That's 1-800-646-9595. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
A new study shows taking a daily multivitamin may boost memory function in some people, but the research isn't comprehensive enough to warrant a broad recommendation as yet. More from correspondent Jackie Quinn.
Researchers at Columbia University and Brigham and Women's Hospital tracked more than 3,500 people over the age of 60 for several years. Some got a multivitamin, others got a dummy pill, and they were tested online for memory function, given a list of 20 words. After a year, participants who took the daily vitamins had better memory function, recalling 7.81 words, while those with the placebo improved to 7.65 words. U.S. dietary guidelines recommending nutrients be obtained through food. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're cloudy overnight with a low temperature dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun, cooler with a high of 73. Now, Saturday's the big change. Much cooler, a high of just 61. Heavy rain possible, some gusty winds up to 35 miles per hour. We're a bit warmer on Sunday. 72 is our high, but more rain likely to come with it. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we are back here in Hoover, SEC tournament, also in Durham, ACC tournament, also in Columbia. No tournament, maybe a regional next week, and in Sardis, where they're just happy to be alive today. Here, Arkansas has taken a 5-2 lead on LSU with a 5-run fourth. It looked like it was going to be 2-2, and the third out had been recorded, but the umpires called catcher interference on the LSU catcher on a play that was a fly ball to the center field, to the center fielder. They reviewed it, and the review upheld that call. So that brought home a run. The bases were loaded. It brought home a run. It sent the batter to first, and then they got a 2-run single. So Arkansas, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Arkansas. Arkansas is leading LSU 5-2. And that great play-by-play moment brought to you by Mike Morgan, Morgan on the Move. And Mike Morgan is brought to you by Visionaire Solutions. No one else offers this. Based in South Carolina, Visionaire makes sure the air you breathe in every day is both healthy and safe. Visionaire Purification makes sure your home is air pollution free. No more viruses, mold, bacteria, stale odors, etc. They make sure your home is full of clean air. And also, they offer HVAC duct cleaning and sanitation as well. Keep you and your family safe and healthy by simply calling Vision Air Solutions today. 803-220-1811. That's 803-220-1811. Okay, Mike Morgan, Morgan on the Move, joining us. So we got all this baseball tournament action heading into the big tournament next week. What do you think about what you've seen so far around the country?
Well, I think this is going to be one of the hardest years to forecast who is hosting and who's not. And, you know, South Carolina is the headliner when it comes to that, because you're looking at a top 10 RPI. You're looking at a ranking that's outside the top 25, and you're looking at a team that sputtered down the stretch, but also won a game at Hoover where they typically don't play well. And they're now healthier than they were when they were sputtering down the stretch. So you have everything you could possibly put in this bowl of stew, this gumbo, if you will. And I just don't know how the committee is going to decide. Is it John Cohen, the head of the committee this year?
I think
the Auburn athletic director? Mm-hmm. I think it is. That can only help. That's an SEC athletic director who knows a thing or two about, you know, how hard South Carolina's schedule was and how the adversity they faced. Again, he's a former baseball coach and a damn good one, who's an athletic director. As we know, there's not many of those out there, but you got two of them in the SEC. But, you know, I'd be lying if I told you I know what Indiana State has been doing in the Missouri Valley Conference. You know, they're right there as a possible host site in the same area as the Gamecocks are. Boston College from the ACC is in that neighborhood. So how many bid stealers are there when it comes to bubble teams that's the other thing, though, we always look for at this stage in the game. But, yeah, I mean, we already know Carolina and Clemson are in. We know that Coastal Carolina is in. And you'll never convince me. I'll just say this one last point.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never convince me that the committee is not aware of how many teams from each conference are put in a host situation. They'll tell you it's based purely on merit, and the conference affiliation doesn't matter at all. But I don't totally buy that. I think they want to avoid too many from one conference. They want to avoid too many from one region of the country if they can. Sometimes it's nearly impossible to do that. And so, how many SEC teams are ahead of Carolina to host? Do you wind up being the odd man out?
That is a concern if you're South Carolina, I would say, especially the way they have finished up. But, I know Mark Kingston and all the Gamecocks pushing this thing are saying, hey, don't look at the end of our season. Look at what we did. Look at where we were when we beat Florida and we were number one on the RPI. We were 34-6. But, you have no way of knowing this, but just from your experience in following this, the committee, does it weigh more heavily on the overall season, or do they put extra consideration on your last 15, 20 games and what you did in your tournament?
I think they put extra. Again, this is not written on a sheet of paper, but I think they do put more consideration on how you finish, and they put more consideration on how you finish in your conference. So, South Carolina, from an RPI standpoint, from a strength of schedule standpoint, is in terrific shape. But they're always going to look at, okay, where'd they finish in the SEC? And they're going to look at how they finished. And then you have to ask the question, the most inquisitive people in the room will ask the question, well, why was there the turnaround? And they'll learn about the injuries. And then they'll ask the question, well, who are those people that were injured or back? These are all questions that should be answered if the committee is doing their due diligence. I'm not saying that every committee member does that. But if they do, then that helps the Gamecocks' chances. If they don't, and they just look at the sheet of paper and says, wait a minute, this team lost 4 out of their last 5 SEC series or whatever the number is, then all of a sudden you wind up maybe being on the outside looking in. The other X factor, too, is Auburn. Auburn was considered outside of the hosting bubble with an RPI of 19, but they picked up another victory today in Hoover. If they can, make a deeper run there, we've always said if you want to make these conference tournaments the least bit relevant, and if you really want coaches to do everything they can to win games, i.e. use their best pitchers, then you have to reward them for doing well in them. And if that's the case, and if you're an Auburn team that's fighting to host and you make a deep run, then that could certainly help them. And you never know, it could be at the expense of a Carolina, the way they try to figure it out.
Let me save you. They lost. They're out. They got beat by Alabama 7-4.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. Alabama won that game to advance. That's okay.
Okay, fair enough. So in that case, I don't think Auburn's even in the conversation. But everything else I said preceding that is exactly how I feel about the way they look at it. Because I've followed this for over 20 years, and I've seen how the committee works and how they do it. And one other thing I would throw out there, RPI is such an easy number to digest, and it's a lazy number to digest, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But the RPI in baseball compared to basketball, to me, is much less accurate. I mean, if you looked at the RPI, you're not going to convince me of some of these rankings that they're really like. Is Kentucky the second best team in the country? Well, they are according to RPI, right?
Yeah.
We could go up. Is Indiana State the 11th best team in the country? They are according to RPI. Dallas Baptist is the 15th best team in the country according to RPI. I mean, I'm not an anti-mid-major guy. I've seen mid-majors right in front of my eyes knock off really good teams and go to Omaha. But I think the RPI in baseball is extremely flawed.
I agree with you. I look at it and I scratch my head. I mean, let's use South Carolina, for example. The Gamecocks were number 1 in the RPI in or around the time they swept Florida. They were 34-6. And since that time, they have stumbled home with 5 wins the rest of the way, only 4 in SEC play. Yet they're still number 8 in the RPI. It's like the math here rewards you for losing if you lose to the right team at the right location. It's like a loss is not to be penalized in some way. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that seems to be the system that people lean on now.
Yeah, again, just like in the basketball committee room, it's supposed to be just a guide, okay? So you're not supposed to just look at the RPI and go, well, the RPI says they're top 5, so therefore they're top 5.
Yeah.
The RPI says they're 40, so therefore they're not very good. Like, you can't, if you really are, again, you're supposed to be dealing with people that you got to have some baseball people in the room. You got to have some baseball people in that room, and not just your run-of-the-mill athletic directors who very often would be much better at fundraising than picking teams that should host and be in the NCAA baseball tournament. So you hope that the right people are in the room and make the right decisions. But as I said at the top, I think this will be one of the hardest years to get it right, quite frankly. From the top 8 seeds to the top 16 seeds, and then at the bubble level, I think you're going to see them really struggle with getting it right this year.
Let's talk about Clemson, because hottest team in the country, or one of them, and another big offensive night for them last night in beating Virginia Tech. Now they're off, play tomorrow, this weird ACC pool format that we've had shoved down our throats. I don't know how many coaches there like it. I know some coaches like the fact that you can set up your pitching. You're only going to play X number of games. But then there's situations where you lose the first game and you still got to play in the tournament, but you're not going to make the finals. You're not going to make the NCAA tournament. Anyway, besides all that, Clemson is in great shape. Looks like they're going to be in a position to host a first-round regional and go from there. What about Eric Bakic's team? The fact that they're a great offensive team. They've raised their team batting average up to about 310. I don't know how good their pitching is, but they can certainly hit the baseball. Can you just, not saying this will be the case, but can you go deep, you think, just relying on your offense to get you through?
Well, traditionally, the answer to that is no. You have to have one or two things on the mound. Obviously, if you got a great rotation, that helps. If you don't, you can ride a hot starter and a deep bullpen. I've seen teams do that. It's not always the team with the best rotation that wins. It's not always the team that can just line up Friday, Saturday, Sunday better than the other guy that wins. But if you don't have that, I'm almost tempted to have a better bullpen, because I've just seen too many terrific arms, first-round draft pick arms, that for whatever reason spit the bit in the postseason. And if you don't have a good bullpen, you don't have a plan B. If you have a good bullpen, and if a guy doesn't have it, well, then you use your bullpen, and they can win games for you. And you can still wind up winning a regional or a super regional or even Omaha without that. So just give me one stud, and then give me a couple of starters that on some given nights they'll have it, on some they don't. But the bullpen is real strong. I don't know. You would know better than me how strong, how deep Clemson's bullpen is. But that's a huge thing if you can make up for the lack of rotation depth with a really good bullpen. And when I say really good, I don't just mean one guy, because you're going to burn him out. But if you got 2 or 3, and those are the teams that I've had traditionally in the postseason that have done really well, where they've got 3 guys in the bullpen that they know in any given moment they can put them in a tough situation and they'll shine.
Mike Morgan with us. Morgan on the move. And Pat, you had something you wanted to throw at Mike?
Yeah, sorry, I missed your message there, Phil. Mike, I asked the guys this earlier, but would love your opinion as well. Just looking through the RPI right now and at teams that may have smaller facilities, 2 stick out to me. Indiana State, they have a capacity of 2,500. Campbell, only 700. Could we potentially see a situation like 2021 where South Carolina had a regional but was the 2 seed because Old Dominion did not have the facilities?
That's a great question. The numbers you mentioned on Campbell. Now, what I'd have to know, sometimes those stadiums have the ability to expand seating. and they bring bleachers in. It's so important for them to host. You know, I had a regional last year at Georgia Southern, and it was one of the best environments I had all year. It was terrific. They added seating. They packed it. It's not a big school, but they were able to host for the first time, and they darn near won it. Eventually, Notre Dame knocked them out. Of course, Notre Dame went on to go to Omaha and knock out that pesky Tennessee team. So I would like to think Indiana State, being a Missouri Valley team, that they have thought this through and they have enough there to host. But I'm not entirely sure. That would be a good thing to research. As far as Campbell, this is not the first Campbell team that has been really good. So again, they've had time to think about this, but they may not just be fit for it. I've never done a game at Campbell, so I can't really speak to their facility. That's something to really to look at. I'm sure it's been speculated from the people at that university whether or not they're equipped to do it, whether or not they've gotten the okay.
Yeah, they've gotten over the hump with their program there at Campbell.
Very nice. Very nice. Go Cornblue. Go Cornblue, everybody.
Yeah, I'll be here every night.
Cornblue.
No, I've been here for 40 nights, and I'll be here 40 more. All right, before we let you go, I'm watching LSU and Arkansas, and I mean, these are two loaded stud teams, and I think LSU's throwing their top guy. And how far do you think? Who do you like here the rest of the way? You got Arkansas and LSU right now, and this winner's it's chalk. You got the top four teams in the regular season are your four teams in the winner's bracket. So where do you see this thing headed?
I've said before, I think Arkansas is the best team, and I don't care if they win Hoover or not. Ultimately, it's not going to matter. For my money, they're still the best team to come out of the SEC. They're the deepest. Dave Van Horn is as good a coach as anybody in college baseball, and they were there last year in Omaha. You know, they've got a bunch of guys that know what it takes to get there, so they're not going to be in awe of much of anything the rest of the way. So LSU's terrific, and Dylan Cruz might be the number one pick in the draft. He's one of the best pure hitters to come out of college baseball in the last decade. There's a lot to like about LSU, but for my money, if I were to take one, if I were to go to the window in Vegas, and maybe this is an ill-timed analogy considering what happened in Alabama
and Cincinnati.
Well, then maybe I'll just stop right now. Never mind. Bill, you take it from here.
Do you have a regional assignment yet for next week?
Well, they're not out yet, so no.
Well, I mean, but I mean, in the background, I'm sure your people are like, they're saying, hey, Mike, stand by, where you might be going here or there, whatever.
I know I'm doing a regional. I have no idea where.
Okay.
I hope it's on site, and I hope it's not in my basement. But anything's on the table.
I hope it's at Campbell, so you can get over the hump in your career. See, that joke never gets old.
It really doesn't. You're not afraid to try that out. And I know you're not afraid to try out Visionaire, so give Chad Sheely a call at that phone number that you so eloquently described earlier.
Yes, and that phone number, for those of you who might have missed it, just to remind you, is 803-220-1811. 1811.
They're over the hump at Visionaire. Chad Sheely is over the hump. They got over the hump 3 years ago when they started this award-winning company in the Palmetto State.
Smart move. Everybody needs to breathe clean air. We just can't get enough clean air.
Even the camels. Even the camels, like some, they're out there in the desert and it's hot, humidity, sand all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
They want clean air too,
Can't imagine what's up those nostrils. So
I don't even want to think about it.
You have a great holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you next week from somewhere.
I look forward to it.
Same here.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, take care.
Mike Morgan, brought to you by Visionaire Solutions here on Thursday nights on Sports Talk. Morgan on the move. It is a 5-2 Arkansas lead. LSU had a little something going, but Arkansas got out of it 5-2. And Smitty, what's going on there in Durham at this point with the ACC?
Yeah, we've got a tie game here in Durham. One of the best players in college baseball, Yohandy Morales, hit his 14th homer of the season, a 2-run job, almost just short of where Caden Grice's grand slam landed last night among the empty seats, and they're empty in right center again today. And then in the top half, or I should say the bottom half of the first, NC State tied it right back up with a 2-run single. So back and forth they go here in a game again that decides a team that will go to the semifinals. The winner of this ball game will make Saturday's semifinal.
Okay, let's hit a couple of phone calls. Recruiting coming up, and we'll hear from the Clemson folks. Let's go to Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. Gamecock Larry, good to have you with us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine, Mr. Phil Tiger Cornblue. This is Mr.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
This is Mr.
Go. I'm watching Tigers right now. I'm watching the LSU Tigers, Larry.
I know. This is Mr. Gamecock Larry. I got something to say to Mr. Phil Cornblue and that gentleman up there in Durham, and that gentleman down in that gentleman down in Sardis.
That's Chris.
And my good buddy Pat. I'm gonna tell you something right now. You Tiger fans thought you was gonna get rid of the old man, but the old man got the report today. I don't have the big C word. My lungs are in bad shape, but as long as I got my oxygen and the good Lord on the side, everything's gonna be all right. Now, Mr. Phil Tiger Cornboot, I got something for you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Phil, I heard you say something the other night that said something about there'll be help, the Tigers can help the Gamecocks. I don't remember in my 88 years, almost 89, ever needing any help from the Tigers.
Oh.
Now, let me. You got to give me some time now. I got to talk slow. I got to put it all together. I'm an old man. But when I got home from the pulmonary doctor today, I walked in, sit down for a few minutes, and here come a gentleman from my physical therapy. My home health, I don't know, anybody in my physical therapy, he come in, and I said, hello? I said, what are you here for? He said, I come for physical therapy. I said, I want to ask you a question. I said, you don't look right. I said, you a Tiger, ain't you? He said, yes, I am. I said, well, I'm Gamecock Larry. And I'll tell you what, that gentleman forgot all what he going to do. And he sit me down. I didn't want to walk what it was. But I got him. He sit me down in my chair and said, let's do some leg exercise. Boy, I tell you, Gamecock Larry had the best physical therapy today he ever had. Steve, I thank you, sir. Oh, Steve. But I got to get off here because I can't remember anything. But, that gentleman up there in Durham, Smitty, pack your bags, get ready. You are going to be headed for home. The Tigers ain't going to win another game in the ACC tournament. Pack your bags. Now, what else I got left? Don't worry about the Gamecocks. If we host, we host. If we don't, we don't. We'll win wherever they send us. We'll win that one. Then we're going to win the one wherever they go in the Super Regional. Then we're going to go to Omaha. And the Gamecocks will meet one. They will meet the Clemson Tigers or the Florida Gators in the College World Series final, and they will bring the title back to Gamecock country. Love you, Mr. Phil. Love all y'all. Go Gamecock.
All right, Larry. Good to hear from you. Great report. Glad they gave you some good news. You sound good. You sound upbeat. We always appreciate that, to hear that from you. And we'll see what happens. You know, look, as Kingston has said, Ole Miss last year barely got into the SEC tournament, barely got into the NCAA tournament, won the whole doggone thing. So you get players right, you get your heads right, you get some momentum going, and who knows? You get the right regional matchups. All it takes really is a win to get you going in regional play, and sometimes that's enough to get you over the hump. I had to use that again. But true. I mean, you can get going in a regional, just get hot. Next thing you know, you're in a super regional, 2 out of 3, and anything can happen. Okay, thank you, Larry. We'll be back after the break. We'll hear from the Clemson folks. We got recruiting coming up. Take more calls, a few more notes, too. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're cloudy overnight with a low temperature dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun, cooler with a high of 73. Now, Saturday is the big change. Much cooler, a high of just 61. Heavy rain possible, some gusty winds up to 35 miles per hour. We're a bit warmer on Sunday. 72 is our high, but more rain likely to come with it. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Mary Catherine.
From Louisiana Purchase. We serve authentic New Orleans cuisine, like fully dressed po' boys and muffaladas with olive salad.
Hey, tell them about Cypress Corner.
Red beans and rice, jambalaya.
Where we have local art, home decor for every season.
And we do catering and charcuterie boards.
Thomas, the gift shop.
Okay, honey. While you're there, check out Cypress Corner, our in-house art gallery and gift shop.
It's so cute. You've got to come see it.
Louisiana Purchase, St. Andrews Road in Irmo, and at louisianapurchase.com.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis working to push past a very awkward beginning to his presidential campaign. Today, he outlined an aggressive travel schedule, and his allies insist they remain well-funded and well-positioned for a long fight ahead. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton now facing an impeachment vote after years of alleged scandal and corruption accusations. A Republican-led House investigative committee today recommending impeaching the state's top lawyer. State House of Representatives could hold the vote as soon as tomorrow. No fatalities, and there have been a few minor injuries, but the cleanup operations will take a long time on Guam after Typhoon Mawar blasted the region, briefly made landfall as a Cat 4 storm. This is SRN News.
Father's Day in the Midlands. Time to celebrate Dad. And did you know it's actually a fact of life? Dads love Shooter's Choice, and dads love a new firearm for Father's Day. Yeah, I've talked to plenty of dads. In fact, I'm one myself. Dads do love Shooter's Choice. And through Father's Day, there's great deals on shotguns, rifles, even handguns. Great gifts like ammo, scopes, and accessories to put a smile on Dad's face. Uh-oh, you're not sure what to get? How about a Shooter's Choice gift card or a day at the range for you and Dad to bond together? Let the friendly and experienced experts at Shooter's Choice help you out. You know, they're actually hunters. They actually shoot. They're great folks working there. This is the time of year to get outdoors. This is the best time to think about the perfect gift for Dad. Father's Day. Hey, online, you can browse at shooterschoicesc.com or come on down to Shooter's Choice, Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you getting a tax refund? You've been waiting to put those new hardwood floors in? Or is it that luxury vinyl plank that's so hot right now? It's time to call the flooring department. Stretch your dollars here. The flooring department doesn't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom to pay for. They keep your prices down and your quality up. Look, we all buy from the same manufacturers, so why pay more? Online at theflooringdepartment.com or call 951-3567. That's 951-FLOR.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. The Point is a unique radio station. We don't have a bunch of huge corporate sponsors, and we're not a part of a local group of 5 or 6 corporate radio stations. We're a locally owned and locally operated station. In fact, we're a family. We think community first. We're all about local, local, local. And if you're a small business owner, well, it'd be my honor to sit down with you, talk about growing your business with the help of The Point. If you've never considered radio advertising, well, it works, especially talk radio. Our listeners trust us. They trust and they support our advertisers. You'd be surprised just how affordable running some ads on The Point can be. So let me put something together, a customized package that fits your needs, your budget. I'm not corporate. I'm just Kev. Call me, 563-8558, or email me at kev@makethepointradio.com. That's 563-8558, or my email address, kev@makethepointradio.com. Let's sit down. Let's talk about partnering up. Let's talk about seeing if we can grow together.
We are back. Sports Talk Media Network. Recruiting coming up for you momentarily. Also comments from the Clemson folks from their win last night. Let's go to Bruce in Missouri. We stay on the phones here for a few more moments. Welcome in, Bruce. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Phil. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes,
listen,
sir.
I want to address Gamecock Larry. Larry, get a hold of me, please. I want to be your agent. And, you know, you can make money, 15-second ad, 30-second ad, 45-second ad. They can pay you money like crazy. And you can be an agent for Carolina Gamecocks in every sport in there, and I'll make you a millionaire. I'm a Clemson fan, but I'm a fan of yours too. So call me, please. Call me 999-9999, and that's my number. I'll get you on the air, and we can make millions, Larry.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, y'all take care.
You got to give Larry his credit, man. He doesn't back down from what he says, what he believes.
Listen.
You know, I like
What
that.
now?
He doesn't back down from his beliefs. He doesn't back down in his worship of the Gamecocks, and he stands by what he says.
I love it. I love that spirit of him. He's got it, man.
Yep.
Appreciate you, Larry.
Thank you,
Gamecock
sir.
Larry, excuse me. Yes,
Gamecock Larry. Gamecock Larry. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good hearing from you. 888-898-2525 is the number. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number right here on Sports Talk. And did you know, I bet you didn't know, did you know since 2002, more than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such as Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow scholarships, have been awarded to South Carolina students? Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. And playing for fun is a win for education.
I will say this, if Gamecock Larry's prophecy comes true and the Gamecocks go out to Omaha and win the national championship, he ought to buy a lottery ticket because he's living right, that's for sure.
He'd be on fire. I like the name he's given me, Mr. Phil Tiger Cornblue. That's good. Thank you there, Larry, even though I'm sitting here covering your Gamecocks. Thank you very much. Let's do the recruiting report tonight. How about it? Our recruiting report is brought to you by Sewell. Sorry I wasn't in town today because it was a roast beef Thursday. And, Pat, did you make it out there? If you didn't, shame on you.
I did, and I made sure to eat enough of those pork chops for the two of us and the roast beef. I know you're a big fan of both. It was outstanding. And now tomorrow, to end the week, they will have Southern fried chicken, carved applewood smoked ham, and then the best deal on wings in town. They will have both teriyaki and Carolina Reaper chicken wings. Again, wing prices are up everywhere you go, but Sewell's, it's still only $13 for all you can eat. And then also you got all the local fresh veggies coming in from farmers right now, salad bar, and dessert.
You're big on their wings.
I am. They're delicious. And I just love wings, and they're $20 for a dozen at most restaurants these days. So this is quite the steal.
Get out tomorrow, 11 to 3, all next week, 11 to 3. I imagine they're closed on Monday, Memorial Day. I would imagine. So after that, next week, get out to Seawells for the Deli Luncheon Buffet. Give them a call and let them handle all your catering needs. That phone number is 803-771-7385. And if you're looking for USC football game day parking, they are now taking reservations for their parking lot. They have a lot of spaces, so you can grab one. If you don't have a place, you can grab one. Give them a call, 803-771-7385, or email them at seawellscatering@gmail.com. Speaking of football, saw a tweet today that the University of Tennessee had sold all of their season tickets for the coming season, like over 70,000 season tickets for the coming season. You think they're excited about their football team? I would say that they are.
Yeah.
All right, to recruiting. This is an interesting individual. We'll see what happens, if anything, locally. DeKyrus Brinkley. He's a defensive end, 6'4", 225 from Katy, Texas. Who comes from Katy, Texas?
Be Roger Clemens' hometown.
Exactly. And others. He's a defensive end, but he is connected to South Carolina because he's the son of Jasper Brinkley and the nephew of Casper Brinkley, the Brinkley twins, who were such stalwarts at South Carolina under Steve Spurrier and went on to play in the NFL. Especially Jasper had a very good NFL career. Casper had a cup of coffee with the Panthers. Two very good players that came from Thompson, Georgia, and then to junior college, Georgia Military, and then ended up in South Carolina. But Jasper actually spent 3 years because in his second year he suffered a knee injury. Casper was done in 2. Jasper was there for 3. Really good players. So Dak Brinkley is 6'4", 225. He has offers from Texas, Texas Tech, Houston, Oregon, Kansas, Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Penn State, Purdue, SMU, TCU, Texas A&M. He's been to Texas and Oklahoma unofficially. He has an official with Kansas for June 9th. He also wants to set officials with Penn State and Texas, among others. Now, new USC defensive line coach Trevarian Robertson, who was a teammate of the Brinkley twins with the Gamecocks, has been in touch with the younger Brinkley. The plan is for him to visit this summer, work out for the coaches, and then go from there. And he said they're still working on the date and finalizing it, but his dad said that they'll take him there this summer for a camp for sure. He said the coaches want to get him down there to a camp to see him in person. And he started talking to South Carolina the middle of his junior year. And he said they sent him a couple of camp dates. And he says he wants to show them that, he's the player that he's been showing these other colleges that have been recruiting him. He can play the stand-up edge. He can play linebacker. He's got versatility. He can play with his hand in the dirt. He can play standing up. And he said his dad, would love for him to go to South Carolina, but he's not going to push him. He's going to let him go wherever he wants to go, and he'll support him wherever he wants to go. He's going to be graduating in December, so he wants to get his decision done sooner than later. USC target linebacker Elijah Newby was offered by Alabama. He has an official visit set with South Carolina for June the 9th. Just a few moments ago, one of Clemson's top offensive line targets, Michael Uini, who is from Texas, put out his top 6: Clemson, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Florida. Michael Uini, Clemson, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Florida, his top 6. 2026 cornerback Xavier Lindsey, 5'11", 180, Melbourne, Florida, was offered by USC. Former Lake City and East Carolina defensive end Jamarian Franklin is transferring to St. Andrews. Basketball, 6'2", Elijah Crawford of Legacy Early College in Greenville has set official visits with Boston College June 11th and USC June 25th, according to Jamie Shaw on 3 Sports. USC women's target, 6'5", Bianca Thomas of Charlotte. Make that Blanca Thomas. 6'5", Blanca Thomas of Charlotte, announcing her commitment decision on May 29th. Her short list, USC, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Michigan, NC State, Duke, North Carolina, Stanford, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. And this weekend you got some folks taking official visits. We're starting to get into official visit season. Some will take this weekend, and then things will pick up beginning the first weekend in June and through the month of June before the dead period hits the end of June. There you go with the recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was worth your time. Hope it was worth the wait. And remember to check our recruiting out regularly on our website. It's where we put our stories, SportsTalkSC.com. And on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting, and that will take you to all our stories and also all our tweets as we tweet our stuff and we retweet important recruiting information from other people. Okay, after the break, we're going to hear from the Clemson gang as we'll get their thoughts on their win last night over Virginia Tech. Here it's 5-2, Arkansas over LSU. Quick update from Smitty on his game in Durham. What you got, Smitty?
It's still 2-2 NC State and Miami. And just a reminder, this game is for a spot in the semifinals. The winner of this game meets Wake Forest Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Okay, hit the break. Be back in just a moment here on Sports Talk.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you, I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Big win last night for Clemson as they played their first game in the ACC tournament. Let's go back to Smitty, and he'll lead us into the Tigers postgame. But Smitty, as you pointed out earlier, Tigers were behind early, and then they just sort of chipped away, got their big inning, and went on from there. Big offensive night once again.
Yeah, absolutely. You've talked about throughout the show how good this Clemson offense has been, and they were 7 more runs. You can't make a mistake, and that's on the mound or in the field against these guys because you just cannot give them extra turns at the plate. And Caden Grice hit a grand slam last night. His third of the season really made the Hokies pay in that 14-5 win. And After that victory, Eric Backett spoke about how the early season adversity helped to forge this team's identity. Also, so pleased with the at-bat, the 13-pitch at-bat, the battle that Cam Canarella won against Hokie starter Drew Hackenberg, ended up giving Clemson the lead 6-5 and setting the table for Caden Grice's big blow. He also talked about Billy Amick and really what a godsend he's been and how he's helped turn this offense around, solidifying that spot, protecting Caden Grice in the 5-hole. And don't forget, we haven't mentioned this tonight, the Tigers employed 7 pitchers last night. So you could see the game plan from the outset for Backich, none of whom threw more than 35 pitches. So after the day off today, Backich should have his full arsenal available against Boston College tomorrow. The winner of that game will move on to beat North Carolina in Saturday's 5 o'clock semifinal. So that's what's on the line for Clemson. And here's Eric Backich from last night in a game that put them in position to play Boston College for the spot in the semifinals tomorrow at 11.
Yeah, great game. Those first 5.5 innings, it was quite the battle. It was tough for us to solve Drew Hackenberg. He was electric tonight, just a good fastball, nasty slider, was throwing the slider in any count, 3-2. It was tough. Obviously we caught a break with the 2-run error there. It happens to the best of players, and Jack Hurley's one of the best in the conference and can happen to anyone. But I thought that was a little bit of a turning point. Cam Canarella has a 12-pitch or 13-pitch at bat to take the lead. Cooper Ingle with the bunt base hit. Willie Taylor gets a hit by pitch, and then of course Caden comes up, and everyone's hoping he hits a grand slam, and he does. And that really separated the game, and then we were able to, score 4 more later on, and the pitching around that time of the game, B.J. Bailey coming in, getting a big double play, 2 big double plays, and then everyone after that being able to put zeros up. So it wasn't easy. It was maybe not the typical script of a game, but just proud of our guys for playing from a deficit, flipping the scoreboard, and then being able to separate late. But we had some very competitive at-bats, some big hits, some big 2-out RBIs, ran the bases well, pitched well out of the pen. So good, just a good team win to start things off.
I think 12-pitch at bat with Canarella, and what that continues to show about his growth as a player, especially with him being so young.
Yeah, he's mature beyond his years as a hitter. He's just got a slow heartbeat for this game of baseball. He's been like that since the first day of fall, where we were trying to figure him out and just realize that he's one of those guys that stays centered very well. He just always seems to be in neutral. And he could go 5 for 5, and he looks the same as if he ever had a random 0 for kind of a day. And that's what makes him consistent, just because mentally he's consistent. And it's a gift, especially at that age, to be that poised and be that mentally tough, to be able to stay in the middle like he does. He's able to just reduce things down to winning pitches and having quality at-bats, and he does it a lot.
When this thing started, did you kind of see this coming? I mean, was there like a light switch moment for this team, or was it a matter of just kind of trying to figure out who was best in what role and just kind of getting a feel for everybody and a gradual thing?
Yeah, I don't know if I could pinpoint one specific moment where all of a sudden, we just started playing well. I think we were playing well a lot, and we were just coming up short. And, we had a few guys out, but, everybody has a few guys out all the time. And I think it was just the players should get all the credit, because they're the ones who stayed positive. It would have been very easy for them to become discouraged when we're 16-14 and 2-8 in the league, and, wondering if all this training that they've been doing and these classroom sessions and everything are really worth it. But they stuck with it. They stayed positive. The coaches stayed positive. And we started to catch a few breaks. We started to get a few guys healthy. We started to figure out a few more roles. And before you know it, we started to build momentum for ourselves. So we're not looking at anything in numbers and we're just looking at the next game. And next game's our most important game of the season. And these guys have done a really good job of just, staying in the moment, tournament like this, just playing the tournament and taking everything as one at a time as best they can. And when we were staring at a season going nowhere fast and seeing what the other side of that looked like, I think it's also a high level of gratitude for the fact that we are playing well. And had we not get dragged through the mud early, like Caden said, we wouldn't be as tough as we are now, because there's a resilience and a callousing of the mind that takes place when you have all those setbacks and you have that much adversity, and it just builds you up. It's shaped the identity of this team, of who we are now. And, I think we're all very thankful that we did have that rough start because of the team that it's created today.
How much of an advantage does it give you to get through the opening game, not having to use any of your weekend starters and they're all fully rested? Trying to make a deep run here.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, Boston College gave us everything we could handle up in Chestnut Hill. So, we'll figure out who we're pitching on Friday, whether it's Darden or Gordon. But, we're going to have our hands full with Boston College, because that is an outstanding team. So that's all we're really focused on right now. But one of our weekend starters will throw on Friday, either a righty or a lefty.
Billy Amick is, with his performance today, I think he's somewhere right at 500 over his last 53 at-bats, which is kind of insane. I see Caden who's laughing there, but what has his emergence meant to the team? Because it seems like his emergence kind of coincided with the club going on the, turning things around.
Yeah, he's got a incredible story, and it's actually an inspirational story for anyone that starts a season as a role player who's not getting much playing time. Billy Amick, it was only by chance that he even got into a game this year. Caden was pitching. Our first baseman, who was in the game, got hit by a pitch and had to come out, and he gets in there and gets a hit or two, and before you know it, he's hitting a walk-off grand slam against Georgia State and getting a few more opportunities. And we still didn't even have him in there the first 3 weekends of conference play. I think it was the Sunday or Saturday, the game 3 against Wake Forest, that he got a start and got a couple of hits. But he's a kid that, he just was always positive, always worked hard, took advantage of his opportunity, got better as the season has gone on, got better throughout the fall. And now, for a guy that was never even considered in the lineup, now we can't write a lineup without him hitting the 5-hole behind Caden. And I think it's helped both of them because you've got 2 real power threats in the middle of the order. And, they both get, instead of him just being the guy that gets pitched around, you got a guy like Billy Amick right behind him. That's a big deal, and it's certainly been a big boost to our offense with the 2 of those guys right there in the middle.
All right, there you go. From Clemson last night, and Smitty will be on the scene tomorrow. Follow him on our website, on our Twitter, as he keeps you up to date on what's happening in Durham. Let me update the PGA stop this week after the PGA Championship last week. It's the Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial Country Club, one of the great venues on the PGA Tour. And the leader is Harry Hall, an Englander who went to UNLV, and he's finished in the top 10 twice this season. He goes 8 under 62. He uses 22 putts. 22 putts. 8 under 62. Harris English, who's not from England, he's 5 under. Tom Hoagie, Adam Schenk, Robbie Shelton, Andrew Putnam, they are 4 under.
Boy, the big names have turned out for this one, haven't they?
Woo! Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler's 3 under. Ricky Fowler's 2 under. Andrew Novak is -2. Ben Martin is -1. Carson Young is -1. Matt Neesmith is even, 70. Jordan Spieth is 2 over. Colin Morikawa is +3. Kevin Kisner struggling again, +4. And everybody's favorite, Michael Block, after the great showing at the PGA, finishing 15th, +1181.
Ooh.
He is the high scorer of the first round plus 1181. So back to earth for Mr. Block. So hopefully he's being treated nicely and he's enjoying his time there. Quick update on the baseball before we leave you. It's 5-3 here. LSU gets a run in the top of the 8th. They go to the bottom of the 8th. Arkansas's leading 5-3. What you got, Smitty?
2-2 in the 4th now. NC State and Miami. The winner will move on to play in the semifinals against Wake Forest. I wanted to mention this as we contemplate who's going to throw tomorrow morning for Clemson, whether it may be Ethan Darden or Austin Gordon, perhaps. The last team to beat Clemson was Boston College, 3-1. They beat Gordon. But how about this? The day before, in a win for Clemson on a Friday in Brighton, Massachusetts, Boston College knocked around Ethan Darden for 5 earned in 4 innings. Might play a role in Backus's decision tomorrow.
Okay, everybody root for the Celtics. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia